Hello, everyone, and good evening. My name is Stacy Whitehead, and I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the Tau Beta Omega chapter, and I am here to facilitate our monthly #CAP session. I'm so happy that you guys have chosen to join us again this evening. I'm really excited, as usual, for our wonderful presentation that we have for you today. We're going to focus on what it takes to get yourself prepared for college. So I know that the school year is wrapping up, and some of you guys are pretty tired or ready for finals and ready for your summer break. But I want to give you guys some information to leave you with for the summer so that when you get ready for school in the fall, you can hit the ground running. Also, as you will recall, we've been talking to you a lot about HBCUs every month. So today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of attending an HBCU versus a non-HBCU. So everybody, please get your pen and paper ready, or whatever method of note-taking that you'd like to use. I'm going to introduce our very first speaker to you. Her name is Lene Jackson. She is a member of my sorority, a chapter member. Miss Lene, are you ready to take it away?
I am, and Stacy, I will be sharing some slides in a moment, okay?
All right.
Good evening, everyone. I am Lene Jackson, and before I give you my take on the differences of attending a historically Black university versus a predominantly white institution, I just want to give you a little context in terms of my background and how that played out with my education. So I grew up, excuse me, in a predominantly white area known as Alameda. It's adjacent to Oakland up in the North Bay, excuse me. And so all of my schooling was predominantly done in white institutions up through the 8th grade, at which point I made a decision to transfer to a predominantly African-American school because my father lived in that community. And so that was my first introduction to attending a predominantly Black institution when I went to high school in Oakland. And I was there from the 9th through the 12th grade. So I was there 4 years. And it was from there that I pivoted and attended Howard University in Washington, D.C. So I want to start by giving you some of the pros of attending a historically Black college or university. I'm going to begin to share my screen. Excuse me. And can you guys see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. So basically, with higher education at historically Black colleges and universities, you get an excellent education. And I know that probably goes against the grain of what you've heard previously, but you do get an excellent education. They have superb professors and also teacher assistants that attend those colleges and provide you with the assistance that you need to get you all the way through, which is another pro of attending historically Black colleges and universities, is that they are vested and they are truly committed to you making it all the way through your curriculum and your education at these institutions. They care about the students. You're not just a number on campus or a number on the roster. You may even get a call from your TA if you miss so many classes. So they are truly vested in you succeeding. And for me, coming all the way from California and going to Washington, D.C., I needed that extra support. I didn't know, and I didn't have any family in Washington, D.C., and I didn't know anyone. So, so having the support of the staff was very key for me and allowed me to make it through most of my education at the HBCU. And I'll say that coming from out of state, you are buddied up with a pen pal, at least at my university, but most HBCUs, I think, are doing this, where they have upperclassmen that are assigned to the freshmen that are coming onto campus. So you don't feel lost and just a number, right? So you are immediately placed with an upperclassman that kind of orients you to the school, to the curriculum, to what you need to do. And you're there, you actually arrive 2 weeks before classes start. And those 2 weeks are kind of critical because all the freshmen are there those initial 2 weeks, and you're doing fun activities. I remember going to the amusement park and having parties and picnics, and just within a matter of days, you start to form friendships with people you did not know, right? So I think it affords you all of those opportunities to connect and stay connected throughout your stint at these universities. The location sometimes can also be a plus, a pro for attending historically Black universities. I had never been to Washington, D.C. before, so it was fabulous for me to actually attend and see all the monuments that you always learn about and hear about. And so, so that was fabulous. And so I just want to ask you, those that are on the phone, the students, can you name some HBCUs and their locations? Anyone?
FAMU, obviously in Florida. It's in
Okay.
Tallahassee.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Alabama, A&M,
Alabama, yep. Any other?
Clark, Atlanta.
Love it. I love Atlanta. Yep, Clark, Atlanta. All right.
Howard, Washington, D.C., obviously.
Yep, Howard in DC is awesome. Okay, thank you so much for your participation. So yeah, so the locations can be kind of enticing, right? To kind of lure us to these HBCUs. Classes may be preferential for some. It depends. Some universities specialize, like Howard really specializes in liberal arts. So that's an attraction. You have to find out what are some of the key curriculum that some of these institutions are known for. And so liberal arts is one of the things that Howard is known for. As you know, Felicia Rashad just became, I think, what is it, the chairwoman over the arts there at Howard University, but her sister went through that institution. A lot of famous doctors and politicians also attended Howard University. The extracurricular activities. So I'm going to speak to this because when I attended, there are so many groups and organizations that you can attend, you guys. They have a California club for everyone that's from California. They have a Florida club. I mean, every state had their own club. And then they had all these other extracurricular activities. You could be a part of the ski club, the swim club, musical. They have a musical club. They have the bands, which in California, I grew up, we didn't have bands at my high school. So that was something new. So they have all of these other extracurricular activities that may spark your interest that you can get involved in. And then there's the diversity. And you think at a predominantly Black institution, there's not much diversity. And you're right, there aren't. There's probably, I'd say on average across all of the HBCUs, about 90% of them are of African descent, right? But then within the African descent, there are so many different variations. Some are from Jamaica, some are from Africa, some are from Latin America. So there's diversity within the Black community that attends the historically Black universities. But there are another about 10% that are non-Black attendees, which might be converse to what you're used to. And then it's very supportive, what I spoke to originally. And then once you graduate or transition, because I was there 3 years and then I transferred to a predominantly white institution, which I'm going to talk to about next, but I'm still a part of the Alumni Association. So after 3 years, they still identify me as an alumni of Howard. So those are some of the pros of attending HBCU that I found while attending there. But then I transferred. And then you may ask, well, why did you transfer? You only had 1 more year to go. And I truly did. I'm not going to say I regret it, but I do second guess myself. But at the time, you're young, right? And I had changed my major once while I was there. But the real reasons why I transferred had more to do with the environment that I was living in and some of the distractions that were occurring on campus. And I just felt it would be better for me if I went back home and finished my education there. So Washington, D.C., I'm going to be honest with you guys, Howard University is not in a great area. It is impoverished, and they have, drunkards on the street. And I mean, like, you're walking to school at 8 in the morning and you're seeing all these people, homeless, drunks, the living conditions on the dorm weren't the best for me. I hate to even say this, but I have to be real with you guys. So there were rodents in the dorms, right? And so you have to get your little spray or your, what is it called? Borax or borit, something powder that you had to put down. And which I'm not accustomed to living in conditions like that. So it was a big deal for me. And then just some of the distractions. So I will certainly never regret attending an HBCU. However, while I was there, there's so many distractions in the form of partying. I overdid it on the partying, you guys. So I'm just cautioning you you're there for a reason, right? Focus on your education. You can have a little bit of fun, but keep it in moderation. So anyway, I transferred to a predominantly white institution after that. And I literally was in culture shock. And it was a commuter school. It was San Francisco State University. So there was no real connection with anyone on campus. It was huge. There were way more students attending San Francisco State than there were at Howard. So there was I didn't feel any connection, which kind of led me to be initiated into the sorority that I'm in. That was a way for me to connect with students on campus, was through my sorority. But other than that, there were no connections. The professors and the teachers' assistants, they could care less if you attended class or not. You didn't get a personal call. You didn't get any additional assistance. Not any that you did not initiate. What else with the predominantly white? Yeah, a lot of people just went to class and they would catch the BART or the bus and go home after their classes. No real connection. Some of the campuses, especially in California, are in beautiful locations, so I can't take that away from them. What else? Let me see what's on here. I already talked about the culture shock, going from predominantly Black to a predominantly white, where Blacks, it's a reverse, right? So Blacks may make up at the most 10% or 20% at these predominantly white institutions. So that's why it was a shock for me. In terms of studying, thankfully, I got my study habits nailed down a little late at Howard, but I was able to continue that while I was at the predominantly white institution. But I didn't really have, unless it was forced in a class, I didn't have study buddies, which is something that I did have while I was at Howard. So I did kind of want to share that with you guys. Those are the big differences that I saw. Again, just finally giving the HBCUs a final plug. Although San Francisco State did have fraternities and sororities, the number of members of each of those organizations were far less than what you would experience if you were at an HBCU. But all institutions do have, volleyball or track. The bands and choirs are predominantly, you see back east at those institutions. So that's pretty much all I have to share with you all at this time. Do you have any questions?
Lene, I have a question.
Yes, Miss Tiffany.
I think it's wonderful that you attended an HBCU, and I know you made the best decision for yourself, when you transferred to San Francisco State. My question for you is for students who may not be able to go as far. Let's say they need to stay local, and we know we don't have HBCUs here in California. What else, other than a sorority or fraternity, what other types of activities might be available to them to help round out their experience with other African American students? Did you have an experience with that?
I did not, but can we think about that for a second? Because that's an excellent question. Once in college, honestly, Tiffany, I cannot, outside of the fraternities and sororities. There was the Black Student Union, those affinity groups. So we did have a Black Student Union at San Francisco State. Of course, that didn't exist at Howard. But yeah, there was a Black Student Union, so they could join that, and there would be some affinity with others that looked like them, Any other questions?
I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Just to add on to what you were saying. So Howard was my first choice, and I was devastated when my mother, Pansy Ann Grimmett, informed me that I would be going to Pepperdine University in Malibu, California, the most opposite of Howard that I could find. But she was not faculty. She was on staff there. So, we had the faculty discount. And so my predominantly white institution experience sounds a lot like yours. I did live on campus, but some ways that I was able to connect with the other Black students on campus, of course, was our BSU. At that time, Divine Nine organizations weren't on Pepperdine's campus. So all we had was our BSU. But quite a few of us, like once we connected in BSU, we began to, flock to other volunteer groups together on campus. So we did a lot of work in the Pepperdine Volunteer Center, and that enabled us every Wednesday, we would go and tutor young men at Camp Kilpatrick, which is a youth youth facility. And so anyway, yeah, there are opportunities for good times there, but boy, do I regret not being able to go to Howard. I still have a Howard sweatshirt. People ask me if I went, and I have to admit I didn't, but I do hope that my ninth grader chooses an HBCU, hopefully Howard, so that I can have a proud mom of Howard student sweatshirt and be legit.
So I have a question for you, because I struggle with this, right? I have girlfriends where their parents forced upon them the college that they would attend. And initially when I was younger, I was like adamant, oh my God, that's the worst they can do, blah, blah, blah. And I know you say you have regrets, but there was the monetary incentive to go to Pepperdine, right?
Oh yeah. Mhm.
But so it sounds like you're going to allow your child to choose.
Yes, for sure. And we've
Okay.
already done a tour of Pepperdine. I love their travel abroad program. I think there are opportunities for Black students to find their place wherever they land, wherever it's right for them.
Mhm.
So yeah, I will definitely let her choose. Um, I hear Howard now has a Whole Foods down the street. If anyone would like to know that, because mine is like, is there quinoa nearby?
Well, I just went back. I was there was it last month? Yeah, April. And I hadn't been back on campus. I don't even want to say it was over 20 years. So I went back on campus and I was with my daughter, who's fairly young. I'm not going to tell you guys how young he is, but I was so excited, Miss Tanisha. I mean, just the changes that I saw, and I'm sharing this with her, right? She doesn't care. And I'm taking pictures with her in front of all these historically Rankin Chapel, right? That has the Alpha Kappa Alpha window. And it was exciting to be back on campus. I wish I had gone to that undergraduate library that they had just opened up. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it is fabulous. It's state of the art. Kind of reminds you of what they did with the SoFi Stadium in Inglewood. It is state of the art, seriously. But I missed it. But yeah, I went back recently. It's still the same.
That's exciting.
So Lene, I'll share one little thing too. Is for my mom went to an HBCU. She went to Jackson State, and so when I was, looking to go to college, that was one of the things she did. I would love for you to go there. However, someone who was playing sports, that wasn't at the top of my list of going to an HBCU, because when you look at the PWIs and you look at their facilities at the time, that was the big difference in wanting to play tennis and going to a good school for tennis. That was one of the reasons why I chose a PWI. Now, if you start to look at how things are starting to change, you are starting to see, with the Deion Sanders being at Jackson State, with some of these other coaches, big name coaches being at some of these HBCUs, you are starting to see that those facilities are starting to get that state of the art equipment that you start to see at the PWI. So that's another thing. If some of the students are athletes and they just feel like, there's a big difference, you're going to start to see where there's going to hopefully start to be more of a shift and money going into those areas, where then you will feel comfortable feeling as though, you're going to still get the right, the same things that you would get at a PWI in those facilities, the workout rooms, the field and those things. So, that's one of the things I would say was my reasoning for going to a PWI, is because of being an athlete and wanting to just make sure I was at a good school. We're going to play good teams and things like that. But I think you're starting to see that there is going to be a bit of a shift, with that.
I'm sorry, Miss Kira, I appreciate you sharing that, because it reminds me of all the NBA players, right? When they're trying to get their college education, they generally choose those schools that are known for their basketball program. But I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he was a top pick, and he recently decided to attend Howard University. And I hope that is a shift, right? That they won't rely on these PWIs because of their past accolades, but that they would give the HBCUs a chance. And if more and more athletes attended those schools, the programs would get better in time, right? So I just applaud him for attending an HBCU when he could have been accepted to any NBA, any of those basketball programs at the college level.
Yeah, it looks like Dylan shared with us. His name was Mickey Williams. Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you, Dylan. And then Miss Tiffany shared that I guess she was scared to go to an HBCU because it was in Atlanta and she'd never been to Atlanta, right? So she recently, I guess, assisted her cousin in moving into the dorms there. And she, kind of wishes someone had talked to her about, HBCUs at the time, and no one had talked to me about them. So I'm glad that we are having this conversation now and exposing you all to the opportunities. You have options. You can go to HBCU, you can go to PWI, but you have options. You just don't have to accept what the guidance counselor may throw your way. So I'll leave you with that.
And that's the whole purpose of this conversation. Thank you, Ms. Lene. I want to make sure that the students get exposed to HBCUs and at least given up, consideration when they're considering what colleges to attend. So let me ask the students who are on the call, do you kind of sort of know what schools you're at least thinking about? I'm not saying, that you have to say for sure what you want to do, but have you given any consideration to the schools yet? Who's on here with us? Is there Jonathan or Dylan? Who wants to share? Please come off mute, or you can put it in the chat, but I sure would like to hear a student's voice. What schools are you guys thinking about attending?
I really want to go to FAMU because they have a good business program.
Okay.
That's where I'm thinking right now.
Okay, awesome. Good choice, Dylan. Very good. Thank you for sharing that. Do you know anybody at FAMU?
No.
Okay, but you've done a little bit of research and you found out that they're known for their business program.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Have you looked into any of their scholarship opportunities yet?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
I should start now.
Okay. What year is this for you in high school?
I'm in 11th.
Okay. So that's what you should be doing over the summer, right? Doing your research on scholarships, because when you start your senior year of high school, you want to have already done your research and all you have to do is hit the go button. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing that, Dylan. Who else would like to share, students? What are some of the schools that you're considering? And it doesn't have to be an HBCU. I'm just curious where your minds are right now. Any Cal State, Dominguez Hills, or Northridge?
I actually got accepted to CSUCI, Channel Islands.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Congratulations.
I leave in June for their Black Bridge program where they'll pay for our classes as Black students and house us for the summer.
Well, congratulations, Peyton. That is amazing. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you know where you're thinking about studying?
Nursing.
Okay. Awesome. Very good. Very good. Congratulations. All right. Are there any other students who want to share?
Hi. I was thinking about Columbia University.
Nice.
Okay.
Very
May I ask why? I'm just curious.
Just being in New York and considering most of my family is in New York, so that's where I can just go to them if I'm struggling with anything, I guess.
Okay. That's actually a big deal, because one of the things about going away from home to go to school is you want to be near where you at least have a resource or help if you need it, and being near family. So as I attended school in Atlanta, I had a lot of family there to help me out when I needed help. And that's a big deal. That is important when you're going away from home to go to school. Good consideration. Good job, Gabrielle. Now, what year are you in school, in high school?
Sophomore.
Sophomore. Okay, so you still have time. I just didn't know if you were getting ready to pack up and go next week, or if you're just, thinking about that in the future. But this is a time to start planning, definitely right now. Definitely. Okay, anyone else want to share? No?
Miss Stacy,
Yes.
I have a question for the members of Alpha Kappa Alpha that attended PWIs, like Miss Kira and Miss Tanisha. Are you all still in touch with friends you may have established while you were in undergrad?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We gather regularly.
Okay.
And we are at everyone's major events. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good to know.
Okay, so I won't say we gather regularly. However, I would say I am in contact. I would say who I'm in probably most contact with is probably all the ladies that I played tennis with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thanks.
That's a good question.
I'll also add, I have friends from college who are like some of my ace So those relationships absolutely from college are ones that you're going to treasure. You're going to meet people that are like-minded like you, that are interested in similar things. And even if they're not necessarily interested in similar things, maybe they have different majors, but just the time that you had there together. I mean, I have friends for life. Like, I can count the ones on my hand that are like my, ride or die, ace boo cool, that kind of thing. And you'll get to develop those relationships.
Mackenzie's asking, can non-member adults answer that? And I think Ms. Christelle did. Are there any others that are
Yes.
non-members?
I'd like to answer that question. I actually got to attend an HBCU for undergrad, and then I went to grad school and went to a PWI. And I keep in contact with both of my alumni associations. And so, of course, because I went to the PWI most recently, I'm more in touch with them a lot more. And even just last weekend, went to an alumni association event.
Nice.
And I think that depending on the school and how social your school is, mine being in New Orleans, so they do like crawfish boils and different things like that. They have a way of like engaging and, making sure you feel included. And then even when I attended last Saturday, they were like, they're working on a Black alumni association where they really want to, get to students or alumni that, that are Black, but also with us being able to connect with incoming freshmen so that they see, we exist, we made it, and you can enjoy yourself at Tulane as well. So I think schools are doing a better job with that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mackenzie.
Oh, that's true. And Nanette put something in the chat that's also important too, for those who go away from home to go to school. You can't necessarily go home for the holidays, right? Because it's expensive to travel. So it's helpful to have family where you're going to school, because if Christmas or whatever holiday comes around, if you can't afford a plane ticket, you still have a home, meaning, family to go visit. And trust me, that was me. I had to stay home or stay in Atlanta several holidays. I didn't get to make it home for every little 3-day weekend and holiday. So that's another consideration when you're choosing where you're going to go to college. Okay, does anyone else have anything they'd like to share before we move on to the next topic?
I don't know if this topic is gonna come up, but one thing I would like to say, just as a, I guess, from my own perspective, when I was getting ready to go to college, we didn't have the internet, right? So I didn't have a way to visit the university, Google it, find out what activities, it was like, I had something sent to my house. I read through it and then decided, oh, it's not for me. I'm from California. There's probably going to be a lot of people from California. They're all going to be from the South or, from Atlanta, from the area. And I made a decision based on that. Whereas now you students have so much more opportunity than we ever had before. I know in the start of the pandemic, they were doing tours, like virtual tours of the campus. They probably still are. But boy, I wish I had taken advantage of an opportunity or even gone to a college fair to find out that there were going to be kids that were just like me, and that there would be a place for me, because I was afraid that there might not be a place for somebody like me who had gone to predominantly white high school. So I'm so excited that, you all have some interest in HBCUs. And if you don't go to an HBCU, really making the most of your college experience wherever you go, and really trying to form relationships that will help benefit you and support you as you complete your college career.
That is another very good point. I would encourage you students, follow the schools that you're interested in on social media. See what activities they have going on so you can get a sense of what the campus culture is like. You want to be comfortable at that school, and so the campus culture is a big deal. It's very important. And so that is a very good point, Tiffany, because I also did not have social media when I went to school, but for me, when I visited the campus, that's something else I encourage. Visit the campus if you're able. When I visited my campus, I fell in love immediately, knew that's where I wanted to be. So if you're not able to visit the campus, if nothing else, follow the school on social media and see what activities they have going on. definitely do your research, as Miss Annette says. Okay, yes, virtual tours. In fact, we did a presentation on virtual tours last year because if you remember, because of COVID, a lot of campuses had discontinued campus tours. So virtual tours was pretty much the only way you could visit a campus for the past 2 years. And Karen says some had fly-in programs. That's true too. So definitely do your research, because being comfortable and happy with the campus that you choose is very important, and it is a very big deal. You're making an investment in your future. College is not inexpensive. So take your time, do your research, and make sure you're making the right decision, the best decision for yourself. Okay.
Miss Stacy?
Yes.
What grade level would you recommend to start touring universities? At what grade level should you start that process?
You know, I would say freshman year of high school. I don't think it's too early. I really don't. You may not have a full understanding, but at least start thinking about it, giving it some consideration, and doing just a little bit of research your freshman year. Sophomore year, then you start taking it more seriously, because then you also need to start thinking about what you're thinking about studying. Yeah, you may want to go to North Carolina A&T because you heard that's a popular school, but what do you want to study? That's what really should be driving what school you want to go to. Do you want to go to school that has a good business program? Do you want to go to a school that has excellent, that's known for its nursing program, its engineering program, that's going to give you a marching band scholarship? Those are the things that you need to start considering. So, freshman year, I don't think it's too early to visit, but you don't really start really getting serious about it until you start thinking about what you want to study. Yeah. Does anybody else have input on that same question? Yes, Miss Annette.
I just wanted to say that, excuse me, if you go on a family vacation somewhere, if you go on a trip for the weekend, anytime you go someplace with your parents or guardians, whoever you're with, see if there's a college in the town that you're visiting, and just go and visit the college just for that experience. And like Miss Stacy said, if you think you know where you want to go, that's great, but still just research all your options. So.
Yep. Thank you. Let's see, Tiffany says in the comments, if you can't make it to campus, make contact with the school, express your interest, because they do track those inquiries. That is true. That is very true. Okay, did I miss any more questions or comments here? I don't think so. Okay. All right, you guys. So we are going to move on to our next topic. Students, get your notepads ready, or whatever means you use to take notes. Do people use pen and paper anymore? Is everything all digital now? I don't even know. They have textbooks anymore. I just don't know what's going on. However, what I'm going to share with you is some information from Miss Taisha Hemmons. Ms. Hemmons is the director of school counseling at St. Mary's Academy, which is a private all-girls college in Inglewood. Happens to be my alma mater, by the way. So just wanted to throw that out there. Not that it's relevant to the presentation, just wanted to share it with you. So stand by, because this is going to be some really important information. You're going to get some study habit information, some study tips, note-taking tips, etc. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Stand by. Okay, somebody give me a thumbs up. Can you all see my screen? Yes, okay, and everybody can hear me okay? Awesome. Okay, study skills and more, getting prepared for college. This is information that you can take with you regardless of whatever type of school you're interested in going to. I'm talking if you just want to go to community college, if you want to go to the military and go to school later, you can use this information to help you with study habits while you're in college, or while you're in high school. I mean, whatever your plans are, these are some study skills that you can use. In fact, I'm going to be using some of these study skills myself, just for my own personal purposes, when I'm taking notes and trying to learn something new. Even when you graduate from college, your learning never stops. It should never stop. You're going to continue to grow. You're going to continue to learn, continue to study, develop yourself. The more you know, the higher you go. Take these study skill notes with you wherever you go in life. I promise you they will come in handy. Okay. Question for the students. I need you guys to come off mute. What do you think colleges are looking for when they select students? Put yourself in the shoes of a college admissions counselor. You have all these hundreds and thousands of applications. What are you looking for from these students? that are applying to go to your school, what do you think the students should be showing you when they're applying to come to your school? I flipped the script on you, but basically I'm asking you, what do you think the colleges are looking for when they are trying to select students? Anybody, students, please.
So I think some colleges look for like that diversity. Like there are going to be multiple, like hundreds of thousands of people who come in with 4.0s and 4.6s and stuff like that, who I'm not going to say don't really have a life and stuff like that, but who are just bookworms and things like that. So I think some colleges look for people who have their eggs in multiple baskets. Some people who are good in school and out of school and stuff like that.
That's a good point. Very good point. Thank you, Dylan. Looking at like extracurricular activities, right? What else can you do besides get good grades? Anybody can get good grades, but what else can you do? That's true. That is true. What else do you think they're looking for?
I think they're looking at basically our background, like where you come from and who can you be around with that shares the same background for where you came from.
Okay, that's possible. Yep. They are interested in your background. And when you do your personal essay, they will be, you may want to choose to write a personal essay to share something about your background. But it needs to be more than just your background. Like, you know, what's special or different? What makes you stand out of all the applications? Okay, so these are good answers, but I'm looking for something else too.
You see in the chat, Gabrielle put leadership.
Yes, leadership is important. I don't see that in the chat. Oh, there it is. Yes, thank you, Gabrielle. Okay, leadership is important. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later as well. Okay. Anyone else? All right. Well, I'm just good. Oh, go ahead.
Maybe people who have encountered what's the word I'm looking for? Not hurdles, but blockades in their way, like going to college and stuff, and how they've achieved their goals and stuff like that. How they've I don't know what the word is.
Obstacles, the obstacles and challenges.
How they better like beat their obstacles and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's important because everybody doesn't, everybody's not going to be a straight A student. But if you can show that, let's say you want to be, I don't know, an engineer, but you struggle with math, and you showed that you went and got tutoring, you went to summer school, and you overcame that obstacle, and now you're an A student in math or a B+ student in math. You went from a D student to a B student or A student. That's showing that you overcame an obstacle. You struggled with math, you struggled with science, you struggled with reading, and now I've improved that. I've turned that around. That shows a lot to the school, definitely. I agree with that one. Okay, so let me share the answer with you that I was really looking for. Colleges are looking for students who have the proven potential to perform well. Let's let that sink in. Students who have the proven potential to perform well. Potential, right? Think about it. The schools have a reputation, right? Schools have reputations to uphold. They are evaluated just like you're evaluated as a student. Schools are evaluated as well. High schools are evaluated, colleges are evaluated. They're looking for students who have the potential to perform well. If you been schlepping all the way through middle school, junior high, and high school, but you want to go to Harvard University, you have shown absolutely no potential, no interest in doing well. Yeah, you might do well on your tests. Okay, you might be a good test taker, but you're not a well-performing student at school. Do you think they're going to consider you? Not necessarily. They're looking for students who work hard, who have potential, who have a drive, a plan, a desire to do well, and can show you that they are trying to do well. Okay, proven potential to perform well. Big deal. It's a big deal. Well, how do you show this potential? Yes.
I was going to say, because in the room, we have some students who've been accepted to their schools and they're getting ready to go.
Okay.
And just like how you said this still applies to them as well. So students, for you who are getting ready to go, you're accepted. Your school wants you to show them that you have the potential to perform well, even when you're there at the university. And I think that's important to keep in the back of your mind as you're going to your classes and navigating and dealing, like how you said, you're going to have obstacles that are going to come your way, but are you still going to push through? Are you still going to persevere as you're there at the university and perform well?
Let me tell you something. The work that you did to get into college, it doesn't stop. It gets harder. You're going to have to continue to push. You're going to have to continue to drive and strive and show that potential all the way through college. It doesn't stop. Keep the momentum going. Keep it going. Okay. Just like Ms. Christelle said, the school is looking for you to show potential to perform well. Okay. All right. So how do you show this potential? There's several ways. Yes, grades are important. We already know that. Everybody you need good grades to get into school. That's a given. We know that. You don't have to be a straight A student. You don't have to be a 4.0 GPA, but you do need to have some good grades. Now, rigor of courses taken. Are you just taking the basic classes that they make you take, or are you going to take some advanced placement courses? Are you going to take some honors courses? Are you going to take some college courses? Rigor of courses taken. You just gonna, coast through on your PE schedule for the next 4 years of high school? You're gonna keep getting A's in PE? That's fine if you want to go into that field, or physical ed or that industry, when you graduate from college. But they're looking for rigor of courses that you're taking. How challenging are your classes? Are you going above and beyond? Extracurricular activities, we touched on this a little bit as well. It takes more than just having good grades when you try to get into college. Anybody can get good grades. They're looking for students who have a passion for something, a drive, a desire for something, who show potential, commitment to something, leadership skills, well-rounded students. Recommendations. A lot of colleges will require that you get letters of recommendation when you apply to their schools. You're going to probably need a letter of recommendation from your college guidance counselor. Make sure you get to know that person. Maybe a teacher or the principal. Maybe Miss Christelle at the Wooten Center. You never know, but you should always be prepared to have letters of recommendation written for you. And that person needs to know that you know who you are. Don't just randomly go pick somebody, maybe the pastor of your church. But if you're only sitting in the congregation and you don't participate in church service, or you're a member of a club and organization, but you don't participate, nobody's going to know who you are. That's not making the effort. If you need letters of recommendation, you need to be an active member of whatever organization that you're going to be a part of. You need to have a relationship with the people that you participate with, and whomever you're going to ask to write your letter of recommendation for you, make sure that you ask them well in advance, because a lot of high school students ask for the recommendation letters around the same time, application period. Do it well in advance. Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so or Miss Christelle, when I get ready to go to college next year, I'm going to probably need your help with recommendation letter. Will you please help me out with that, or keep me in mind, or something to that effect? Let her know now. Okay. Writing skills. I will tell you that.
Miss Stacy, and
yes.
I would say they need to establish those relationships early, like
yes.
as soon as they get to high school. So by the time you need these recommendations, they've already seen your performance, how well you perform, right, what type of person you are, and what you're capable of, and they'll be able to write a stellar recommendation for you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And Stacy, can I add something?
Yes, please.
One of the things you touched upon was well-rounded. I mean, that if anything you guys take away about potential, you need to be well-rounded. And I'm saying this because both Stacy and I are called star recruiters for our college. We both attended Spelman College, and that's one of the things that they said that they're looking for in students is somebody that is well-rounded. As Stacy said, you got your grades, you got your courses, your AP, your extracurricular, your recommendations. Miss Lene talked about the, getting to know that teacher that freshman year, whether it's a advisor. I told my daughter, I have a 10th grader, stay in their face. If you need help after school, that shows a lot that you want to do well. And what helps too is if you can get a real good template for a recommendation, that helps them out a lot if you have just like a template that they can just go in and add your name and, add some additional things for you. But I cannot stress just that well-roundedness. Yes, you might do well on the SAT test. I did horribly on the SAT test, but I knew that I had potential because I did other things, and I was able to show the school, that I'm a good student. I just don't do well with testing. I excel in other areas, but I did the work and I got into Spelman. So I just cannot stress that well-roundedness. Do your extracurricular activities, take your AP courses, the writing skills, the stuff that that's going to be shared with you today. Take note, keep copies of it. But I cannot stress that that well-roundedness, and also just having those great relationships with your teachers. I just want to throw that in, Stacey.
Yep, super important. Thank you. Also, along with recommendations, as Ms. Karen mentioned, make a resume for yourself so that when you do ask for your letter of recommendation, you can present the resume to that person and let them say, see, look, I did this, I was on the newspaper staff, I did this after school, I took these classes, during the summer, I worked here. Make yourselves a resume so that when it's time for recommendations, you can present that to the person who's writing the letter for you. Okay. One more thing, writing skills. One of the number one pet peeves of the college admissions staff, the people who are reading these admissions requests, is misspellings, typos, grammatical errors. When you're writing your essay, your personal essay, read it out loud. Have somebody else read it. Make sure that it makes sense. Make sure that it flows. Make sure that you make your point early, and make sure there are no typos. Those are unexcusable problems when you're writing your personal letters of writing your personal essays to get into college applications. Writing skills, basic fundamental writing skills. You'd be surprised.
Can I add something? I'm a hiring manager, and that is my pet peeve. When someone sends me their resume or a letter, an email, and it's got all sorts of misspellings, or if they put in the subject line everything they wanted to say. So please don't, work on your writing skills, because that's going to transfer over when you start, seeking employment or whatever it is that you want to do. Make sure your resume has grammatical that is right. Your email has spell check. And if you're not sure, ask a friend to look at it. But that is like a pet peeve for me when I see someone's resume and it has all these errors, or if they send me I see that, or if the format isn't correct. All that, goes into play as you start, looking for employment. As a hiring person, I look at that because that lets me know, because we do a lot of writing, the work that I'm involved in. And if you can't write and you're sending this letter or this document to a board of supervisor and you can't even write, I'm not going to even consider you for an interview, because I know, these are documents, these are public documents, and I have to make sure that you know how to write, you know how to spell, you know how to format. So like Ms. Stacey said, work on that now. Seek out the help if that's not your strength, but those writing skills are so important. That just translates on into, like I said, when you start seeking employment and actually start working.
Yep, just like I said, this information I'm sharing with you is going to carry beyond just college. These are life lessons as well. And if you're not strong with writing, have somebody else read it for you. There's your spell check. So there's multiple ways you can clean up your writing and get help with that. Okay, does anybody have questions about the information on this slide before we move forward? Again, these are ways that you can show potential when you're applying to colleges.
I have a question.
Yes.
What would you guys suggest a student that isn't the best, who doesn't get the best grades? What would you suggest to them to get into a good college, or the college they want to go to? I would say
not the best student doesn't get the best grades. I'm sorry. You need to find out where your weaknesses are and get tutoring, get help. Go to summer school, after school. A lot of the high schools, not even just in high schools, but there's a lot of places where you can go to get tutoring after school. Find out what your weaknesses are.
The Wooten Center.
The Wooten Center.
But
Yeah.
you know what, Miss Stacy? I think
Yes.
it gets back to what Miss Annette said too. It's more than just your grades.
Oh, yeah.
So, they're looking for people that are well-rounded. What's your volunteer hours? What do those look like? What are your extracurricular activities? How well do you get along with others, right? Yeah, I think there's more than just your grades. Grades are important, but there's more than just your grades. So don't let that stop you from applying to colleges, okay?
Definitely don't. No, definitely don't. No.
In
Thank you.
addition to tutoring, there's Khan Academy, which is free. I don't know if you're familiar with the Khan Academy. That's free. You can do type in all sorts of subjects. And there's one other one, Stacy, if you give me a second, I'm gonna try to find it. And
Okay,
it's
put
free.
it
But
in
I
the
like,
chat when you
okay.
find it. Put it in the chat, please.
Okay.
Okay. All right, guys, we're going to move on to the next slide. Great. Okay, we've already talked about this a little bit. Now, as you know, most colleges have a GPA minimum requirement. Not all, but most. So, for example, when you go to apply to a University of California school, you must have at least a 3.0 GPA in the A through G courses. Okay. Even if you struggled early in your high school career, colleges will look favorably upon strong improvement in subsequent years. So if you know freshman and sophomore year, you struggle with math, like I mentioned earlier in my example, you got some tutoring, got some help, did a little extra studying, brought your grade up, that shows improvement. Schools like that. They look on that favorably, as it says in here. Okay. Your overall GPA also serves as an indicator of your academic success in high school. Colleges look at your transcript to get an idea of how you performed in your classes. Some colleges will also look at the types of classes that you took in high school, and they're going to look to see if you took honors and AP courses, if they were available. Now, I know all schools don't offer that, but I'm just saying if they're available and you didn't take advantage of any of them, then, not saying that they won't accept you, I'm just saying they're looking for that. So if you have that opportunity, take advantage of it. Again, honors and AP courses. Okay. Now, I will say, for instance, the school that I graduated from, Spelman College, they don't have a GPA minimum. That's not even a requirement. So, like I said, not all schools, only some schools do that. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys a quick video, 10 study tips on how to improve your grades. Everybody got their listening ears on? Listening ears, are we ready? Okay, I see you, Dylan. All right, here we go. The ad.
Hi everyone, in this video I would like to share 10 study tips that I have used during my years at school that kept me organized and helped me to get good grades. Tip number 1 is to organize your study area. Before you even sit down to study, you have to make sure you get everything you need in one place so you don't have an excuse to stand up and walk around searching for it. Don't forget the snacks and the water. Tip number 2, keep a schedule. Get a large calendar and write down due dates of all your tests, exams, assignments, and papers. Some people prefer to put notifications in their phone, but I find that having an actual paper calendar in front of your eyes gives you a better sense of time. Place a calendar somewhere near your study place, that way you're constantly aware what is due when and for which subject. You can also get creative and use stickers to remind you about upcoming deadlines. Tip number 3, make a study goal. Before you sit down to study, write down what you want to accomplish during the study session. Be specific. By doing that, you're setting a goal for yourself. Setting a goal is very important, as subconsciously you would feel that once you reach your study goal, you can take a break and reward yourself. If you do not have a study plan, you might feel by the amount of material that go through. A study goal will help you to feel organized and keep track of time. Tip number 4, read the textbook. Seems obvious, but so many people rely just on their lecture notes and skip the textbook entirely. Throughout the years of studying, I found that the most effective way to read the textbook goes like this. First, just read the chapter like you would a novel. Do not try to understand the material, nor take any notes. Once you do that, come back to the chapter, but this time read it much slower, take notes, and try to understand the material. And remember, no matter how good your lecture notes are, the textbook will always have more information. Tip number 5. Make flashcards. Okay, so this tip is self-explanatory. For classes that require a lot of memorization, prepare a stack of flashcards and carry them with you. Every time you have a free minute, review them. It is simple, but it does help to remember the material. Tip number 6. Use Pomodoro technique. Study for 25 minutes and take 5-minute breaks. Every third break, take up to 20 minutes. You can set a stopwatch on your phone to keep track of time. Tip number 7. Reward yourself. Every time you reach your study goal, reward yourself with something small but enjoyable. A piece of chocolate, a bubble bath, or your favorite TV show. Decide on your reward before you sit down to study so you have something to look forward to. Tip number 8. Turn off your computer. Now, obviously, it is not always possible to study without a computer, but when it is, turn it off. Without the temptation of internet, you would concentrate so much more on the subject that you're studying. Tip number 9 is to switch it up. Be creative. You don't always have to study at your desk. For example, you can go over your lecture notes while taking a bubble bath. Just put your notes in a clear folder so they don't get wet. Tip number 10. Remember the big picture. There are many reasons why you would want to get a good grade. It's either to get into an Ivy League school or get a scholarship. Whatever your reasons are, write them down on a piece of paper and keep them within your eyesight. When you're feeling discouraged, unmotivated, and tired, it would help you to remember why you're still studying at 2 a.m. in the morning, or why you're at home cracking math problems while all of your friends are out partying. Remember, always keep the end goal in mind. This is it for my tips. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel.
All right. Did any of the students learn anything new from that?
Yeah, I didn't know what the Pomodoro technique was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you study now, do you just study nonstop, or do you give yourself a break every 25 or 30 minutes?
I mean, I do give myself a break, like
Okay.
every hour or so.
Okay. Okay. All right. I don't know about the whole studying in the bubble bath thing, but that's whatever. I guess the whole point is change your location from time to time. If you need to change your scenery, get some fresh air, I think that's more the goal on that one. Never saw that studying in the bathtub, but anyway. Okay. Anybody have any questions about those study tips? Did you guys make note of them? Yeah, no? Yeah, okay. Very good.
Miss Stacy, I
Yes.
want to emphasize how important it is to have good study habits. I did not before going to college. I was a straight A student in high school. I found it very easy. But when you get to college, you're amongst a lot of straight A students, right?
Yeah.
And I did not have good study habits. So the earlier you learn your good study habits, having a set place, a set time, a schedule is key. A schedule for when you're going to study is key. So getting those down and honed down early is very critical to your success in college.
Very much so agreed. And snacks, reward yourself, have your snacks handy. Snacks are brain food, or at least the good snacks are. So, don't, keep yourself comfortable, but also, kind of watch yourself on the social media. Don't be sitting there trying to watch YouTube videos while you're supposed to be studying, or you hear your phone vibrate and you got to go say, oh, somebody send me a message. Study time is study time. Stay focused on your study time. Anyone else have anything to provide before we move on?
Yes,
Miss
please.
Annette.
I just wanted to say that in line with your study tips, find the groups on campus. Find with your classrooms, the professors usually have study groups. Take advantage of all those groups and the people that are studying. They will help you. Everybody helps each other get through. So if there's something that you might not understand, somebody else might, and everybody helps everybody. So take advantage.
Yeah, I like study groups. That's a pretty good one too. I forgot about study groups. Yep. Okay, and just so you guys know, students, every single adult that's on this call with you today is a college graduate. We're not telling you this information because we think it's true or we heard it's true. We've all been through these steps before. So we're providing some very valuable information for you. Note taking. Okay, here's another video for you. It's a little bit longer, but pay attention. It's called Cornell Notes. Have you guys heard of Cornell Notes before? Do you guys already know about this? Yeah, Dylan? Okay, anybody else? Let me see, let me check the chat. You guys know about Cornell Notes? Make larger screen of the video. Okay, tutoring homework and mission. Okay, all right. Let me see if I can make this bigger. All right, next video, here we go.
Hi everyone. In this video, we're going to take a look at a simple and effective way to take notes in any subject, the Cornell Notes method. We'll start by going through the layout of a Cornell Notes page before seeing how the structure helps us learn new content. Cornell Notes are great because of their simplicity and flexibility. We can use them in class when we're learning something new, or we can use them when taking notes on our own. Here's the layout of a page. To save time and effort, we might want to come to class with a bunch of sheets that already have the layout. Check the link in the video description for a template that you can print off and use for yourself. There are also a couple of examples of how Cornell Notes might look in some different types of subjects. At the top of the page, we can fill in some details like the subject, the specific topic that these notes are on, and the lesson objective or dot point that we're covering. Don't worry, this isn't a physics lesson in disguise, we're just using an example to see how things work. Try and break down a larger topic into smaller topics so that we'll only need 1 or 2 pages to cover the topic at hand. In this case, we are not trying to cover the entire physics of waves in just 1 or 2 pages. We can add a date in the top right corner so we can keep track of when we took the notes. This is where we should be at before we actually jump into learning the content. As we hear, read, or watch the information that we're learning, we just take notes in the right-hand column. For example, our teacher might start the lesson by saying that the crest of a transverse wave is the highest point on the wave. It's also called the peak. We hear this and just jot down a note that captures the information. All this seems pretty similar to regular note-taking, but here's the important part. We now want a cue on the left that relates to the information that we've just written down. A cue can just be a question, keyword, or phrase that refers to the material on the right-hand side. So in this case, a simple cue for the first point might be, what is the crest or peak? In some cases, the lesson might move on before we have time to write cues, and that's fine. We can just come back later and write the cues when there's a pause in the lesson. What we have at the end is 2 columns, cues on the left and responses on the right. The cues on the left prompt us to think of the more detailed information next to it, which can be notes, diagrams, quotations, or whatever is relevant to the topic we're learning. At the bottom of the page is space for a summary. Sometimes a topic might take more than 1 page worth of cues and responses to cover, so just do your summary on the last page of the bunch. This is the space to condense the information and try to relate it to other areas of the course. Try and wait at least a couple of hours before doing the summary. That will give the content time to sink in and let your brain sort things out in the background. So that's the basic structure, but why should we bother? Firstly, Cornell Notes help us to break things down into more manageable chunks of information. We've all had the experience of writing a bullet point, then writing a subpoint, and another subpoint, and another subpoint, or otherwise notes that are just a series of big chunky paragraphs. We're likely to lose track of how the information relates, and the content at the bottom might be quite different to where we started. These notes are also a bit hard to read and find specific pieces of information in easily. Well, Cornell Notes help make sure that each cue and response is a clearly defined chunk of information. This means that we can keep track of the important bits of information easily. It also forces us to think of a topic as a set of smaller chunks, which are way easier to remember than a beefy paragraph or lots of nested dot points. Another reason why Cornell Notes are great is that they force us to phrase material in a cue and response format. This is good for 3 main reasons. Firstly, cue and response is a good way for our brain to remember things. It's like how looking at a photo you took on holiday can help you to remember the whole day, even though the information is not presented in the photo. The photo is the cue, which reminds us to think of all the information related to it. Secondly, cue and response is essentially how we see material in an assessment. A physics exam doesn't normally start with the question, write down everything you've learnt about transverse waves. We get questions testing a smaller chunk of the information, such as what is the name of the highest point on a transverse wave? This is the kind of chunk that we're already going to have clearly laid out in our Cornell notes. Finally, the cue and response structure is great for revising and testing yourself on the material. All we need to do is cover up the right-hand column so that we can't see it, and test our ability to respond to the cues on the left. You can see where you're strong, where you're weak, and testing yourself will strengthen your memories much more than just rereading or highlighting notes. Cool, let's do our summary of this lesson, and why not in cue and response format. What is the basic structure of Cornell notes? Cues go in the column on the left, responses in a column on the right, and a summary in a box at the bottom. What goes in the response column? Responses are the main pieces of content that we need to know. And what goes in the cue column? Cues are questions or keywords and phrases that act as cues to important information. When should we do the summary? We should try and do the summary at the end of a topic and after some time away from the content. We can often come back and have a better understanding of the material just by taking a few hours away from it. Why is it helpful to chunk information? It's easier to understand and remember things if they're broken down into smaller chunks. How do Cornell notes help us revise at a later time? It's easy to test our knowledge on the key bits of information. Cool. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you soon.
All right. Let's see how we're doing for time. Oh, we got plenty of time. Okay. Did you guys all get that information about the Cornell notes? Did you have questions? You got it, Dylan? Let me check the chat. Anything else in here? Thank you, Karen, for adding that information about the test prep resources. You guys check the chat. Miss Karen placed some free tutoring and test prep resources in the chat. Okay, what else? I wish I'd known this method in high school. Me too. I said the exact same thing. I had never heard of Cornell Notes. And thanks for putting the links in the for the videos into the chat. Thank you so much for doing that. Okay. No, okay. So students, I'm curious to know, have any of you guys used this before? The Cornell Notes? Yes, Dylan? Who else? Is it helpful?
Yeah, it depends on how long the lesson is. Like if it's a very long lesson, then the notes you could possibly get lost in it, if that makes sense.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
But that's just for me, I guess.
Okay. All right. Any of the other students use Cornell Notes? Jonathan, okay. Do you like them, Jonathan? Does it help you?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Okay, well, good. I'm glad this was helpful information for you guys. Awesome. Okay, we're going to move on. So we talked about this a little bit earlier too. Rigor of courses taken. Have you taken or are you planning to take any AP courses at your school? Why or why not? Any students would like to answer that question? Are you planning to take any AP courses?
I'm actually taking an AP course now.
Okay.
It's called AP Environmental Science. I just did AP testing this week on Tuesday. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. You have AP on the brain. Okay. All right. Yes. I think I took a lot of honors. I liked English and literature. In fact, that was what I majored in college. So in high school, I took all the honors courses, honors English courses that I could get my hands on. And then in the summertime in my school, we were required to read 4 books during the summer and report on them. So yes, I believe strongly in the AP courses. Okay. So what are AP courses and why do they matter? AP courses are college level courses that are taught in high school. So if you can perform well in your AP courses, it suggests that you have the ability to take on a college workload. Colleges look for students who took the most challenging courses available to them and who performed well in each class. Now, some high schools don't offer many college prep classes, okay? That's not unusual. But if that is the case for your high school, let me see, if that's the case for your high school, the admissions officers will take that into account. I mean, you can just indicate that they didn't offer that at your school when you write your personal statement. However, you can also take classes at a community college. So again, if your school doesn't offer AP courses, you can enroll in a community college course. These are AP courses or college courses that are taught at a high school, but if your high school doesn't have them, you can actually improve your potential by enrolling in a community college course. So I know, for instance, El Camino College and Southwest College, they're getting ready to start their summer programs in June. Now I know you're tired of school, you're ready for your summer break, you want to go, I don't know, where do kids go? To the beach or to Magic Mountain or whatever it is that kids do these days. I don't know. But honestly, if you're not able to take AP courses at your school, you should really consider enrolling at a local community college. It won't kill you to take one class. It just really won't. And you can also get your teacher, your college guidance counselor, to get you into those classes for free. There are some programs that they can get you into those community colleges for free. Ms. Christelle, you know about that?
Oh, yes. And not only will they give you a waiver for your class to be free at the college, but when you see someone that has a 4.6 GPA, Dylan, I heard you say that, right? You're like, how is that even possible? Is because they've taken college courses. Yes. Because the equivalent, your high school course may be 5 credits. And college, when it transfers to your high school, it counts as 10, for example. So that's how those GPAs are in the 4 point whatevers, because they're taking college courses. If I knew that when I was in school, instead of me taking art class during the summer just to keep busy, I would have taken, another class of my choice. Because remember, it's any class of your choice, because even when you get to your university or even at a community college, you have your basic requirements that you need to meet as well your first 2 years, which is your general education classes. So if you can be strategic and now select that class, so you can still have a fun summer, still knock that out of the park, you're going to get the extra credits, going to boost your GPA, which looks great for universities, colleges, and scholarships. You're winning. So you guys, we're talking about competitive. We want you to be competitive in how you're putting all this together. And these are all strategies so you have the competitive edge. Yes. Do it.
Yep. Yes. Why not? Especially if you can get it for free. Why not? Challenge yourself. One class is not going to kill you to take during the summer break. And it usually, about 6 weeks. So you'll still get some time off. And what another thing Christelle was mentioning is a lot of schools do what's called a weighted GPA. So let's say you're taking, I don't know, a class and it's worth 4 points. If you take that through the college, through a community college, an advanced placement course, that same course will be worth 5 points, right? So a 4 point course, if it's an AP class, is actually worth 5 points. It's called a weighted GPA. You get more points if it's an AP course. Make sense?
Can I also say, when I was in school, I took I think it was one of the years that I needed to take the PE class, and I took social dance at West LA. And so that was like salsa, dancing in different styles. And I got those credits. So you can totally do it too.
And it was fun. Okay. So yeah, guys, take advantage of that, please. I can't stress that enough. And again, this is information I wish I had known. So here's the same information we just told you. Taking community courses while you're in high school is free. Free. Did I say free? Okay. All you have to do is apply. And you can have your high school counselor sign off on a K-12 dual enrollment form. Now, if you don't have time to take a community college course during the school year, again, you can do it during the summer. A lot of them are online. You don't even have to go to the campus these days. Most of these classes are online these days, or on evenings or just weekends. So if you're working during the summer, like I work during the summer, a lot of the classes are just evenings and weekends. Okay, so I highly recommend it if you're not already taking an AP class. Reach out to your high school counselor, see what classes would benefit you. And sometimes, as Ms. Christelle said, they can apply, like if you take a college class, now it can be applied to your college transcript or for college credit, I should say. Okay, so please take advantage of that. Okay, so here are takeaways from the presentation today. Your grades matter. They're not everything, but they matter. It is not too late to improve your grades. It's a very good story that you can tell if your grades went up from being down. If you show that you struggle with a certain subject and you're able to turn that around and bring your grades up, that's a wonderful story to tell. Challenge yourself. Take rigorous courses in high school or at a community college. Don't just sit back and take the easy stuff. Write your goals down. Put them in at your mirror or on your door, something that you're looking at every single day. Write it down. Keep it, make sure it's ingrained in you. Talk to your high school counselor. Let them know you. As someone mentioned earlier, they should get to know you your freshman year. Walk into them, make an appointment. I don't know where I want to go to school yet. I don't know what I want to study yet, but I know I want to go to college. I want to meet with you on a regular basis. Help me. Tell me what I need to do. Make sure they know who you are. Okay. And these are just 5 takeaways listed in the presentation, but we covered a lot more than that. And I hope that you guys make note of most of it. So now, before we close out, I do want to share with you one more presentation. Bear with me. And do we have any questions, by the way? No? All right.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment about the community college class.
Sure.
I think it's really important if you're able to, but I also caution students because it's not like your high school class. I mean, it's essentially like going to college. And so the support that you have with your teacher staying on you to come to class, they don't care if you're there or not. They're going to teach their lecture and they're going to keep it moving, which kind of ties back to the HBCU thing, because when you go to an HBCU, they're a little more invested in you. But at these community colleges, there might be 40, 50 students in there and they're teaching their lecture. And that was actually the first time I ever got introduced to a Scantron. And I just wrote my name and I was like, whoa, this is a very big difference. So you have to really make sure you're on your A game and prepared, because life comes at you fast in community college, but it's great to get those credits out the way. So just an additional thought.
That's very true. I should have been a little bit more clear about that. Yes, I'm encouraging it, but don't get it twisted. It's not high school. It's not high school classes. It is more challenging and it's like that for a reason. But again, don't be scared. Step up. Dig deep down inside of yourself and see what you're made of. See if you have what it takes. Okay, I'm going to close out with one more presentation. It's a really short one. This one is going to be about the top 10 best extracurricular activities for college applications. And I found this on a website called post.edu. And I'm happy to share this with you guys as well after the presentation. So we talked about some of these already. Leadership activities, internships, athletic participation, work experience, academic teams and clubs, creative pursuits, technological skills, political activism, and travel. So students, why do you think some of these are important extracurricular activities for you to show to a college? Travel, I'm going to read them again. Political activism, technological skills, creative pursuits, academic teams and clubs, work experience, athletic participation, internships, leadership activities. Why do you think these are important student extracurricular activities? Yes, Dylan, well-rounded, okay? Yep, that is true. We mentioned that earlier, well-rounded. I said it, Miss Karen said it. What about internships?
They want to see how well you work under somebody, I guess.
That's true. That is part of it. Now, let's say you're going to school to study engineering or law, or I don't know, want to be a teacher. Working an internship in the field that you're showing interest in shows that you've already started trying to gain some experience in your chosen field. You know, teachers after school with grading papers, or being a teacher's aide, or working in a law firm during the summer. working in an office for the summer, getting some business experience. That's one of the things that they're looking for. You're already starting to get some experience in that chosen field. And I'll be honest with you, I know a few people who started off thinking they wanted to be lawyers or attorneys. They worked in the law firm one summer and changed their mind. They said that it wasn't for me. Sometimes it takes that little bit of experience for you to, get your hands wet, to realize, it's not what I thought it was. It may not be what I want to do, but at least you got that experience to find that out. Athletic participation, right? Commitment. You don't just play sports without having some form of commitment. That's a lot of work when you're on a sports team. So definitely athletic participation. Is Miss Kira still on here? I know she could speak to this one pretty well. Work experience, well, we talked about that a little bit with internships. Academic teams and scholarships. The English club or the math club or the chemistry club. Academic teams. Again, showing commitment, showing that you're well-rounded. Again, helping you to deepen your understanding of a certain subject, right? Creative pursuits. So what are your interests? Putting out, when you write your personal essay, that's one of the things that you may choose to write about. What is it that you're interested in? And you may just be a really creative person. You may like to be in theater or performing arts or good at doing makeup. I mean, these are interests that you can put down on your resume and also on your college applications. Okay. We already know technological skills. Technology is the buzzword these days, but are you good at coding? Do you know how to do software programs and write or create video games, or do you just know how to play the video games? I don't know. Political activism. Once upon a time that might have been a little scary to say political activism, but now that's a big deal. It's important. Student activism has been on the rise among high school students and local communities. I'm not saying get arrested for what you believe in, but I'm just saying that's something that you can actually put on a resume with pride these days. And traveling. I'm not meaning like I visited my grandmother every summer in Alabama. I mean like, road travel or some type of like when you traveled, studied abroad, or did some type of volunteer work. When you traveled to the border or went to another country to do some volunteer work. I think Miss Karen's daughter did that. Went to another country and did some community service work. So you can include travel on your application. So I'm hoping that the wheels are spinning in your little heads right now. There's some ideas are popping in for things that you can consider as your extracurricular activities as you move forward with your, with your education. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. We're close to the end of the night. I know we're going to do spin the wheel so you guys can get a prize. You all have earned a prize in my heart. I'm so proud of you and I'm happy for you and I'm pulling for you. If you need help with anything, please let Miss Christelle know. She knows how to get in contact with me. If you have any questions, I will share this presentation with them. We will not be meeting with you guys in June. I'm going to be visiting you for graduation, and I will be presenting certificates to those of you who have been attending our CAP programs. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for just giving us the opportunity to teach you and share with you. And again, if you have any questions, let us know. I want to hear how successful you guys are and what you did over the summer. So be sure to stay in touch with me through Miss Christelle. Okay, Marissa or Miss Christelle, let's play spin the wheel.
Okay, Miss Christelle, what were the winners again? The gifts?
So you all can choose from Starbucks, Jamba Juice, or Yogurtland.
Yay!
Congratulations. Woohoo, Jonathan.
Okay, and then is this the last one, Miss Christelle?
Yeah, one more.
Okay.
All right, congratulations. Is that Axel? All right, good job. Congratulations, everyone in the chat. Please put your email and the Starbucks, Jamba Juice, or Yogurtland, that item that you would like. And I see a message in here as well, Miss Karen. I'll be in touch with you. And also for the graduation, for our virtual graduation, join us. I'm actually going to put it here in the chat as well. So woolcenter.org /events, and you can RSVP for our graduation celebration. And so even if you're a senior here as well, we want to celebrate you. I know we have some of our registered students here who are here in the video, who are here in the Zoom, but even if you're not a registered student, we still want to celebrate you because you've been a part of these CAP sessions, and we want to celebrate you and acknowledge you for our job well done. And you guys have worked hard. And Miss Stacy, we actually have some presentations and gifts and stuff like that. So you don't want to miss out. You want to make sure you're there. Okay. So I'm going to put the link down here in the chat so you can RSVP for our virtual graduation.
What's the date? What's the date, Miss Christelle?
It's going to be on June 3rd. That's a Friday. Actually, it would be the first Friday, like if you were right here.
Yeah, okay.
From 6 to 7:30. So just think about like we just making a field trip, but to the virtual graduation. And let me finish putting it in here. And you can just RSVP. All right, there it is. All right. Oh yes, and that's our flyer. Yes, so we want to celebrate all of our graduates.
Well, thank you, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Good night.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you for everything. Have a good night.
Yes, have a great night.